All right, test the microphone, check 1, 2. How's it sounding? That sounds pretty good, I think. Get this going. Cool. So, hello and welcome to the Friday feedback stream here at Catalyze Academy. My name is Zaak Kerstetter. I'm an Ableton Certified Trainer, and this is where I do the feedbacks on Fridays. This is one of 2 streams that I do regularly on the channel. I do a Friday feedback stream, and then I do a Tuesday hangout, office hours, talk about making music kind of stream on Tuesdays at the exact same time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. But today we are going to focus on listening to tracks that you guys have sent me. So first thing I'm going to do is put the link in the chat. And I'm going to pin it to the top of the chat. What's up, Nicole? How are you doing today? So if you would like to send me a track, you're going to click on that link. It'll take you to a spreadsheet. Just follow the instructions on the spreadsheet. Put in the link, your YouTube name, so I know who is submitting which track, and any notes or things you might want me to know before I listen to the track. As always, I do want to go over just kind of the general rules and advice for for doing the feedback stream, just to make sure that everybody is on the same page and everybody knows what's going on. Number 1, ideally original tracks only, so no remixes or anything like that for 2 reasons. Number 1, I don't want to worry about copyright strikes and things like that. And number 2, if I don't know the song that you're remixing, it's much harder for me to give feedback because I don't know what is yours and what is part of the original track. Other than that, ideally works in progress are recommended. So if you have already finished a track, you're more than welcome to submit it for feedback. However, you're probably not going to go back and like redo that track and re-release it. So I like to work with works in progress, but if you don't have any and you just have something you finished recently and you want to get some feedback on it, you are more than welcome to do that as well. On top of that, if you are submitting a track and you are sharing stuff, and people are giving you feedback, give other people feedback. This is very much like a give and take. Everybody in the community participates, helps each other out. It's not just me talking into the screen directly at you. You can get feedback from other people. So if you are sharing a track and somebody else shares a track, stick around and let them know what you think. It is very helpful to get like a wide range of feedback whenever you're sharing something. Other than that, it's good or I liked it doesn't really count as feedback unless you follow it up with why. So let them know why you thought it was good. The big thing that I generally do, I like to think of when I'm giving feedback is think about, if this was my track, what would I do to it? What's the next step to make this track better? So think about it that way, and that's really helpful. Songs will be reviewed first come, first served basis. So I just kind of go top to bottom through all the tracks. Sometime I lost my train of thought. Go top to bottom, and sometimes I finish all the tracks early, and in that case, you can submit more than one track, but one track at a time, and we go top to bottom, just kind of in the order that I receive them. No, you just put the link in there. I already see your link in there, so you're already good to go. It's that easy. And then lastly, or semi-lastly, if you would like to share a track early, like say for example, you can't make it to the live part of the live stream, number 1, all of these videos get uploaded to the channel, so you can always go back and review feedback that you got, or if you couldn't make it for the actual thing itself, you can come back in and watch the video later on. On top of that, if you would like to submit a track early to, number 1, guarantee your track gets heard, number 2, put yourself at the top of the line or front of the line, you can join the Discord, and then you have access to the spreadsheet where all this stuff gets uploaded pretty much whenever you want. So you can just put a track in there and I will listen to it come Friday when I do the feedback stream. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the stuff you guys need to know. In terms of sending me tracks, the other thing I also like to mention is that all genres and styles, as well as all skill levels, are welcome here. So if you are brand new or you have been producing music for 20 years, doesn't matter. Just let's hear what you got. So everybody's welcome to share tracks here. But yeah, so with that in mind, we're going to dive into it in just a moment. Double check, make sure everything's looking good. Oh, yeah, on top of that, if you are enjoying the content, things that are happening on the channel, whether it's the live streams or the videos, feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you have not already. Tell your friends, tell your parents, tell whoever you want. It really helps spread the word. It helps the channel quite a bit. And if you are really enjoying the feedback, you can either join the Patreon page, which is something that is new that I'm working on. You can also do super chats in the chat. So you can just tip me through YouTube if you liked your feedback and you want to support the channel. And it's all very appreciated, but you are not required to tip to get feedback. It's just in case you want to. What's up, Willie? How you doing today? Sweet. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. As of right now, Narcall's track is in the spreadsheet. But other than that, we don't have anybody else lined up. So if you are hanging out in chat or you're just joining us and you'd like to get a track in, now is the time to do so. All right, so we're gonna grab this track, toss it in here, pull this bad boy up. And let's check the notes. So Narcall is primarily looking for feedback on the mixdown and the master, particularly with the sub levels. So we will keep that in mind as we're listening to this track. I'm doing very well, Willie. I'm happy it's Friday. I'm happy to be doing the feedback stream here. Life's going pretty good. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. All right, and let's also just do a quick sound check here to make sure this is all working. Not yet. Let me hit the button to make that work. Cool, and then let me know if the volume is too loud or too quiet or anything. Nice. This is a really dope track. I like this a lot. You're nailing it in terms of a lot of the sound design. Like the sound design sounds like nice and rich and full and huge and crazy and weird, and loving that. I also really like the arrangement. I feel like the whole thing kind of flows from one idea to the next really well without it like getting too boring or repetitive. Um, and I just feel kind of like stylistically, like you got all this cool like sound effects and things that are going on there. So I'm digging it quite a bit. I do agree that the place that you need probably the most work here is the mix, but probably not in the ways that you think. I think this is a good mix. I think this is like you could get by on a mix like this, but I think it's really, really close to being a great mix. And there's a few things I think you can do to really make sure that everything is in the right place in terms of volume. And what that's going to do for you is add a lot more clarity to the mix. I think in a general sense, everything is roughly where you want it to be mix-wise. But if you were to de-emphasize some sounds and emphasize other sounds, to really kind of direct your listener's attention to different parts of the song at different times, it's going to make the song really pop and really shine. So that's where I feel like it needs the most kind of work there. So we're going to start off just talking about the intro here. Intro is super, super cool. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Amon Tobin Isom, that album. Fantastic album, one of my favorite albums of all time, but you're doing lots of fun stuff with like these different kind of like sound effects kind of sweeping in and out. Really cool stuff going on here. However, I think throughout this entire track, but especially during the intro, I want you to think about not just volume and making sure everything's loud enough, but think about dynamics. Think about purposely making some things really quiet so that other things sound really loud. And so you're going to have some sound effects that are going to be kind of like faint and distant and far away, and other sound effects that kind of like are like right up in your face. And it's going to create this kind of like shift in volume that helps create a lot of emotional attention in your track. It's a fantastic technique for just kind of like making an intro feel like dark and ominous and like something's about to happen, but you like don't know what's going to happen next. So be thinking about that a lot as you're mixing this intro part, like purposely making things something's quiet, purposely making something's loud, because we perceive volume as relative. So if everything is really loud all the time, then nothing really feels that loud. But if some things are quiet and some things are loud, we have things to compare them to, and it makes the louder things seem louder. And it's a technique that's like, it's really evident in this little break you did right here, where you just reset everything to be really quiet. This is excellent. This right here. Quiet for a second. And then you bring everything back, and then it like sounds louder. Emotional tension is what I said, Willie. So just creating tension through different volumes and having loud things and quiet things together. So throughout the whole track, try that out, but especially during the intro, that was like the main thing I felt like that needed. This part's super cool. And it's like same thing here. Like you could make this part really, really quiet. And then as it kind of builds back up, it's going to build even more tension than if it's just kind of like the way it is now. I feel like the drums during this section, you have these kind of like filtered drums. If they were louder, it would also help kind of like build that tension. Like, okay, there's something's coming. I don't know what's about to happen, but something's coming. So maybe have them maybe start that quiet, but get a little bit louder, a little bit faster. That part's really cool. Love that part. All right, then this section right here. I love what you got going on here. Like I said, the sound design is pretty top notch. I'm really digging that. Drums sound great. But then you have these big like chord sounds. It sounds kind of like almost like reverse chords. Those I think could either be way, way quieter or just cut them entirely from this section. I think that a lot of the time when I'm thinking about mixing, I'm thinking about like competition. All of the sounds are competing for my ear's attention. And right now, the main focus of the song, I think what you want them to be is all your cool sound design and your drums. That's what's going to be driving this part of the song. And what I'm paying attention to is those chords. See if you can notice that. So I think you cut those chords entirely if it was up to me. If you would want to keep them there, but just make them way, way quieter, that's also a totally legit thing to do. But I would just cut them entirely. Yeah, I think the chords fit. I think that they work, but they're too loud and they're just distracting from the rest of this drop. Otherwise, the drop is killer. I love it. Like I said, love this little section. And then leave the chords here. This part's super cool. So same thing here. You have this really kind of like high-pitched pad sound going on that is really cool, and it actually is like adding a nice little bit of like tension to that higher frequency, but it's a little bit too loud. So turn that guy down. Yeah, I think the thing that I'm noticing here is a lot of this track is very busy. There's a lot of things happening all at the same time, and you can get away with having a really busy mix. That's totally a legit thing you can do, but it's way harder to mix. So a lot of times be thinking like less is more. The less sounds you have playing simultaneously, the louder every one of those sounds can be. So maybe take some of the background sounds here, turn them down a tiny bit, and then you should be good to go. But again, love this section, love the whole arrangement. This whole section feels a little quiet to me, so maybe just bump that section a tiny bit. And then you have this like crazy synth solo that happens here that also I love, but that's too quiet. Like I can hear it, but it's not grabbing my attention the way it should. Yeah, I'm the same way, Narcal. I always want my arrangements to be super, super busy with tons and tons of layers. And so it helps to have somebody tell me that like, hey, you have too many layers here. Just get rid of one or two and you're gonna be perfect. So try it out. I know it's hard sometimes when you want to just add more and more and more. But yeah, that little synth solo going on, turn that up. Yeah, that's kind of mostly what I'm noticing in the mix. It does, the sub does sound a little bit quiet to me. So if you wanted to put a hair more sub in there, I would definitely not mind that. But yeah, that's a super cool track. Production sounds really solid. It's just like really getting in there and dealing with a lot of the nitty gritty of that mix to make it sound really polished. But it's mostly there. Just a few minor changes here and there in terms of like volumes and things like that that'll make all the difference in the world. But definitely send me this again once you finish it up. I'd love to hear what the final polished version sounds like. Chat, anybody else got any thoughts, comments, opinions? Sweet, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I think this is your first time sharing on the channel, right? Cool. So the next track we got is by Equal24. Also, just to let people know, if there's anybody who is just joining us, you can submit a track by clicking on the link that is pinned up at the top of the chat. Just follow that, takes you to a spreadsheet, put your link in there, put your name in there, and then you'll be good to go. And as of right now, you'll be up next after this track if you were to put your name in there right now. All right, and then I think Equal said he was looking also for some mix feedback. But things like the low end and the melody feel repetitive in a way to extend. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll check it out, see how it sounds. Nice. That was like the happiest dubstep track I've ever heard, if that's what you want to call it, which is what I'm going to call it. Yeah, this is really cool. I think it sounds really good. So it sounds like you're just kind of putting this together structure as well. I feel like a lot of my feedback is going to depend on whether you are planning to put vocals in there or not. I think you said that the synth line was just kind of maybe a placeholder for maybe vocals, or you're going to layer it with vocals, or you're kind of like that's what your vocals is going to do, because that will make a big difference as well. I also am a little curious about stylistically, do you want to go into a more kind of like future bass kind of realm with it? Or do you want to kind of stick with it where it's at, which is this kind of like happy 8-bit dubstep kind of thing? Because I think there's a lot of directions you could go from here and using this as a foundation. So let's kind of go through like just a little section at a time, just kind of see how we feel about it. So to start off, the intro to me sounds a little, I don't know, like generic, I guess. It's just like the chords are like pretty standard with the violins. And I think the issue is they don't do justice for how cool the rest of the track is. So one thing I like to remind people is that people have very short attention spans. So you got to make sure you grab them right at the beginning. And so I'm wondering if like maybe if you toss a vocalist on top of this, that might help kind of round it out a bit. Or maybe some sound effects. You know, you could put some like nature sounds in there, or like, I don't know, get some Foley sounds in there. Something to kind of spice it up a little bit beyond just the kind of the chords and the violin. And then I think one of the big issues throughout this entire track is drum sample selection. And I think Nerkal kind of mentioned that the snare later on might be a little too heavy for this kind of track. I have mixed feelings about it, which we'll get into in a little bit. I think your kick sounds a little bit, I don't know, it has this kind of like thuddy sound to it. And I think I want like a really nice, tight, clean kick drum. instead of what you have going on right now. I think it's okay. I think the kicks are fine, but I don't think you want a fine kick. You want a great kick in there. So layer up that kick, tweak it a little bit, dial it in a little bit, and then same thing with your clap. Your clap sounds fine, but I think you can do better. And that could be layering, that could be a little bit of processing, just toss a little bit of reverb on there. Spice up the drums a little bit, I think. And I think that'll go a long way in making this section work. I like the little percussion thing that comes in there. That's nice. I think this part with the vocalist will work really well. I think if you wanted to, you could put in like a big synthy chord here, and that could work really well as well. Or you could save it for later on. Because you have these kind of muted chords right now, so maybe make them a little fuller. Maybe open up the filter on them, or like I said, you could do some like choppy future bass chords, and that would work. Sub sounds great though. You got plenty of low in there. And then you switch to this snare right here, which is what Narcol I think was picking up on. It's a very dubstep snare to me. I hear that snare and I think that's like a heavy dubstep snare, which I think if you're doing that on purpose, if you're doing that as like an intentional thing to be like this weird, like you have like 1 foot in this dubstep world and 1 foot in this like happy 8-bit kind of poppy world, that's totally fine. If that's what you want to go for, then I think that contrast actually makes this track really interesting. But only if that's what you're going for. Yeah, like that chord there, that's what I'm looking for earlier on. I like that little background sound that comes in. The more little background sounds like that you can toss in here, the better, I think. And then this is where the song actually really starts, in my opinion. This is really kind of like, this is the meat and potatoes of the whole track. So you might want to have more of a build up or a lead into that, you know, really kind of like tease it out, like let the audience know like something is cool is about to happen. We're going to get to this like big synthy part. We're not there yet, but it's coming. Because right now it just kind of like, you have a little bit, you have like one noise sweep that leads into it, but like play that up. One thing you could do if you really wanted to is in between your synth lines, you have like a little synth response. So here's the main synth part. There's a little response right there. Instead of doing like a synthy response, you could do a like more kind of dubsteppy response, so more kind of like growly kind of thing. So you have this like big happy synth line and then a more kind of like wompy response. So same thing here. Main synth line, dubstep response. Main synth line, dubstep response. So you could do more of a back and forth like that if you wanted to go more dubsteppy with it. I think that'd be kind of cool, but up to you. Yeah, that part's great. I think that sounds super cool. And it definitely, like, this is what the whole song's gonna be about. So it just feels like the intro is gonna be, all of the things beforehand are gonna be leading into that. You're gonna toss this in here, maybe toss some like vocal chops or something in there as well. And then you're gonna kind of go to a little reset and build it up and kind of do it again. So I can kind of see where this arrangement's going. This kind of like future bassy kind of thing with like a little bit of kind of like grimy dubstep tossed in there if you wanted to. But yeah, mix-wise, I think it sounds pretty solid. One of the things I generally like to remind people is that as you are putting together the arrangement and the sound design, and you're putting all that, you're figuring all stuff out, don't stress about mixing. The mix is not relevant till the song is basically done. So like, you can kind of roughly get things where you want them mix-wise, but mixing, mastering, save it till you like have a track where you're like, I'm done with this track, and then you stress about the mixing and mastering. But yeah, chat, any other thoughts, comments, feedback, ideas? This is a really solid foundation for a track. I think once you get vocals on there, the rest of the arrangement will kind of start to flow together. Do you know if you're going to put like a male vocalist or a female vocalist, or are you going to do, you're just going to go for slice, grab stuff? What's your plan for the vocals? Yeah, Nirkal, you are welcome to submit another track. Just maybe wait a minute or two to see if there's anybody else who is just joining us who would like to share a track. I'm also going to remind people who are just joining us, if you want to share a track, go ahead and click on the link that is pinned up at the top of the chat. It'll take you to a spreadsheet. Toss your link in there, and I will listen to your track. And as of right now, if you were to send me a track right now, you would be listened to right away. Interesting. I was kind of imagining some female vocals on this, but yeah, do whatever you want. Whatever direction the wind takes you, go for it. I also think once you get a vocalist on here, doing like a verse or something, you can also chop it up and like use those vocals as some of the ear candy in your track. Sweet. So yeah, well, thank you for sharing, Willie. It's sounding really solid. It's sounding really good. Yeah, so if anybody is just joining us and would like to share a track, go ahead and click on the link and put your link in the spreadsheet. But we do have another track from Narcall, so we're going to go ahead and listen to that one next. Keep in mind that we do this every Friday, or almost every Friday. So if you don't have a track today, well, you are more than welcome to come back another time and send me a track. But every Friday, we're here, listen to tracks. What's up, love? How are you doing today? Yeah, it's good to see you back here. I feel like it's been a while. All right, so we got another track from Narqual. Let's go ahead and take a listen to it. Nice. That's a super dope track. Chat, what do you think? This is your track. What do you change? What do you make better? I really like it. I don't honestly have a huge amount of feedback here. I think overall the mix does sound pretty solid. I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was, especially during the second drop, the bass felt a little bit missing. Like, it was there and I could hear it. But I think that on like a big system, I think you might notice that some of the low end features that are there might not stick out quite the way you want them to. I felt like the drums felt really punchy. It felt like everything felt really kind of big and huge. I love the use of all the like weird, glitchy Mr. Bill sound effect kind of things. But if we listen to this, on those kind of downbeats, on the ones there, you have this bass sound that it's like I want it to really just like take over and just be like really huge, and it's just not quite there. And all the other sounds there are like sounding nice and big and huge. So that was like the big thing that I was noticing, that I think if I were to change anything, that's probably what I'd take a look at. Let's go through one section at a time real quick, see if there's anything on here we can notice. I like the intro a lot. Yeah, same thing here. That bass sound it's good, but I think it could be a bit grittier and a bit louder. Yeah, same thing I noticed in your last track with the drum production. Drum production sounds really good. Like everything, all the drums sound pretty tight and kind of where you want them in the mix. So I'm digging that. This section is also really dope. I like this part a lot. If we're up to me, I think it'd be really cool right in the middle of the section here, just to like cut everything out for like a quarter note or something like that, just like dead silence, and then right back into it. Just again, to use that little bit of negative space could be really fun, because you have so much going on. It's like you're constantly being barraged with sounds. Just like drop it all for half a second and then bring it all right back. The other thing that I like is how the drops keep changing. Like, you keep on doing different things with the same sounds, and I think that's a really good sign. I think a lot of people, when they're putting together their drop, they're like, okay, I have my cool sounds, and they're going to do the cool thing, and they're just going to repeat, and that's my drops. And it seems like you're doing a lot of creative, interesting choices with how your drums and your bass and your glitchy sounds and all the percussion, everything kind of like changes, but it also is all still the same sounds. So it also kind of like fits together. But yeah, I like this track a lot. Not much else to say other than that, I don't think. Yeah, cool track. Anybody else in chat? Thoughts, ideas, questions, comments? Love the track that you sent is not working. You want to try sending it again, or uploading it again, or whatever? Also, if anybody is just now popping by, if you would like to send me a track, click on the link pinned up at the top of the chat, and that's where you can send me your tracks. Let's see if this link works. Is this the right one? Cool. All right. Yeah, and at this point, if you would like to share a track, go ahead and do so. There's a couple people that have submitted more than one track, in which case I'm going to do the people that only have not shared yet first. So just so you know, I'm not trying to skip anybody or anything like that.
I don't even understand it. How you got me so damaged. I don't even understand it. How you got me. How you got me. How you got me so damn pissed. Fuck with a bitch, now she distant. Set her text, said she gifted. She giving head to my best friend. I cannot lie, I thought she was different. Eyes so cold, should've seen it coming. I've been told that's why I keep fishing. Cause I love myself, a fine-ass girl who won't be told and takes control. Not every girl can be special. She gon' make you mental. You can't be too careful. She gon' get the best of anyone who lets her. She just takes her ass out. Now she getting bent over on your sofa. Cause she felt like playing with your heart and loving. Cause she did not want you really. She just wants to break your feelings. I don't wanna play at this game. I just want you feeling the same. I don't even understand it. I don't even understand this. How you got me so damaged. How you got me. I don't even understand it. How you got me. 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 How you got me so damn pissed. Fuck with a bitch, now she distant. Set her text, said she gifted. She giving head to my best friend. I cannot lie, I thought she was different. Eyes so cold, should've seen it coming. I've been told that's why I keep fishing. Cause I love myself, a fine-ass girl who won't be told and takes control. Fuck with a bitch, now she distant. Set her text, said she gifted. She giving head to my best friend. I cannot lie, I thought she was different. Eyes so cold, should've seen it coming. I've been told that's why I keep fishing. Cause I love myself, a fine-ass girl who won't be told and takes control.
Nice. Sounds really dope. I like it quite a bit. I feel like it's mostly where you need it to be. There's a few things that I might change for me, but it sounds really good. So first off, I love the bass line. Bass line sounds really cool.
I don't even understand it.
It almost kind of reminds me a little bit of a Troy Boy bass line, where it has this kind of like pitch bendy, plucky feel to it. I think if it were up to me, I would make that bass line a little bit louder and a little bit more kind of like central to the song, and maybe also glitch it up a little bit. But that might just be because I want it to sound more like Troy Boy. But if that's not what you're into, at least make it louder, and maybe put a little saturator on it or something just to kind of like make it stand out a little more, because it sounds really cool. Has a nice like kind of like tonal quality that I really like. So more of that bass line, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Other than that, I feel like your vocal layering sounds really good. I think that you can hear all the different layers, and all the layers are like complementing each other really well. I do feel like if you were to turn down some of the more kind of like backup layers of the vocals a tiny bit, I would not mind it. There's a few points where there was just like a lot of stuff going on.
Set her text, said she gifted. She giving head to my best friend. I cannot lie, I thought she was different.
Yeah, they sound really good. But I think a tiny bit less volume on some of the backup layers for the vocals, I think would be great.
So cold, should've seen it coming. I've been told that's why I keep fishing. Cause I love myself, a fine-ass girl.
A tiny bit more kick and a tiny bit more snare. Also, I wouldn't mind that, just in terms of volume in the mix.
Won't be told and takes control. You can't be too careful, she getting bent. I just want you feeling thunder. me so damaged. I don't even understand it. How you got me so damn pissed. Fuck with a bitch.
And then the last kind of thing is more just like a question or maybe like a personal taste kind of thing. I'm assuming that this, actually, I don't know. This could be the arrangement or this could be just like a rough draft of the arrangement. The whole thing has this very fast-paced feel to it. The lyrics are fast. They go from one section to the next really fast. The arrangement is really fast. It feels like the whole thing has this kind of hurried feel to it, which might be intentional. It might be the kind of thing where like that's how you want this song to feel like, you know, whatever that it is they're trying to say is like it's important and it needs to be said, and like it needs to be said really fast and it's like very kind of like all at once kind of thing. If you wanted to, maybe have like a breakdown right here.
I don't even understand it.
But it still has this like it has a lot of tension to it still. So potentially maybe have like another kind of like breakdown here where it's just like it gets really, really mellow, and then you go into the last verse or something like that. If you want, I actually kind of like it the way it is. I kind of like how you're just like, here's everything, just nonstop. Here's the next section. Here's the next section. Here's the next section. No waiting. Just like that's how important the things I'm trying to say are right now. But if you wanted to, I wouldn't mind a section where it does get really minimal and really chill and really laid back, and then you go back into the last verse if you wanted to. Yeah, there's like not even an intro. It's just like the song just kind of starts. There's a little bit of an intro, but the whole thing is pretty full on. But yeah, I like it. The beat sounds great. The bass line sounds great.
Love myself a fine ass girl who won't be told.
A bit more of a melodic element in there wouldn't hurt, I don't think, but I don't think it's fully necessary. I feel like the vocals really carry a lot of the like melodic parts to the track. Well, Love, I think this is why I phrased it more of like a question or more of like kind of like, what do you want to do here? Because I think that non-traditional arrangements, when done intentionally, are really, really powerful. So if you want this song to feel like it's just next thing, next thing, next thing, that's great. That's like that's a stylistic choice that you can make that can be really effective. Not every song needs to have like the same kind of elements of arrangement. So think about it for a little bit before you decide what you're going to do with arrangement. But I think it's an interesting choice that you can make here. What's up, Jeff? How are you doing today? Cool email. I will check it out in just a moment. All right. I'm going to move some people around in the spreadsheet. People who have already shared, I'm putting you down below a little bit. Oops. You guys are going crazy on the spreadsheet. All right. Yeah, anybody else have any thoughts or comments on this track? You'll love your stuff is always sounding super polished. Even though you only spent a couple hours on this, it sounds really good. I'd be curious if you spent a few more hours on it, where you'd be at with it. All right, next up we got a track from Emo. I would also like to point out, if you are just joining us and you would like to share a track, feel free to click on the link that is pinned up at the top of the chat. That's where you send it. Make sure everything's good. Cool, awesome. Yeah, love to hear it. And also appreciate all you guys in chat giving each other feedback. That's really what makes this whole thing worthwhile, is everybody kind of like help each other out. Narkle, thanks for popping by. Hopefully I'll see you again soon sometime. All right, and Emo, I believe he said this is a little jam with his TR8, so we'll see what's doing. I'm noticing that it is 9 minutes long, so Emo, if there is a certain part of this you'd like me to focus on, certain section, or like the beginning, the middle, or the end, or whatever, let me know, or I might just jump around a little bit, just because a 9-minute track is a lot to give feedback on.
Young, and I would have thought that we are living together. You come preach for me, I come preach for you, and your anniversary and my anniversary, we were living together, not in the sense of living in the same house, but living in the same era, in the same generation, that our relationships have been lifelong. I can see dozens and dozens of people in here that I remember from way back when, and we all thought we were living together. You have to live a while to figure out that it is not so much that we are living together. More aptly put, we are dying together.
I like that intro a lot. Also, if you guys are enjoying your feedback of the stream, feel free to hit the like button.
Halfway through your life, there are messages and emails and texts that come from your body and your bones and your joints and your tissues.
I'm gonna jump around a little bit.
We wouldn't be so analytical.
I'm gonna jump around a little bit more.
If I love you, I better.
What is that sample from?
Do what you can do as long as you can do it, because there may come a time that you will not be able to do it.
The sample is dope. The sample is just like makes the whole thing work, I think. This part's cool too, I like this.
Find out that it's more than a hoop and a hollow. And the question has to was clear and the breeze was high. Uncertainty is its own affliction. You don't know what to plan. You don't know what you can have. You don't know when to set something on the date. You don't know how long before things are going to get better. And anytime our souls are uncertain, there is a certain...
I like this part too. Nice. That's super cool. I feel like you have a really solid track hidden inside this. If you wanted to do an edit to it, if you wanted to like take this as like as a live performance jam session, and then kind of like chop it up and shorten it down to like 5 or 6 minutes. I think you could like really make a polished track that way if you wanted to. If you like the idea of just kind of leaving it as like, this is my jam session, that's what it is, then cool, go for it. I'm gonna go through the things that I thought were working first. Number one, that vocal sample of that guy who was just talking about stuff worked perfectly. Like if you were to like, open a show with that sample and whatever it is you're doing, it's like a fantastic way just to kind of like set the mood or kind of like set the vibe for what you're about to do on stage. And then maybe like throughout the rest of your set, kind of like toss them in every once in a while. So I don't know where you got that from, but it is very cool. I like the big beefy kick drum. That's just kind of like it comes in and out when I think it should, and I feel like that's probably you just like sitting there muting the kick and unmuting the kick. So I like that as a way to kind of build tension before you bring in new elements. So I felt like that worked really well. The use of space of like taking out the kick drum in certain places was also working really well. Your bass line's cool. I think the bass line got a little bit repetitive after a while, especially in like a 9-minute track like this. So I think that I'm not sure if you were like playing that live or you had like a sequencer that was looping that or something like that. But maybe try to make sure you have like different variations or different presets that you can swap between, just to kind of like keep things moving along a little bit. And then I really did like a lot of what you were doing with your percussion. The percussion was different. I felt like over here you had some like cool, these weird like reverbs, percussive hits that are super cool. And I think for me, percussion makes or breaks this style of music. If the percussion changes and evolves and grows with the track, then you can keep people dancing to that same kick drum for like hours at a time. And so I feel like you were doing that the right way for the most part. But I think a little bit more changes, even if they're subtle changes, make all the difference in the world, which I'm sure you're aware of. So I think that if you have a bunch of stuff loaded up into your TR8, just making sure you have like lots and lots of content, so you can switch and like add in a new shaker or add in a new open hi-hat or add a new close hi-hat or like switch things up, and that way it's like those little tiny changes make the whole track feel different, and you can like totally change the energy of a room of a performance just by adding in those one little things. The other thing, I'm not sure if you're doing it or not, I couldn't really notice it, is swing in this style of music is just like so useful. So I'm sure you have some swing features on the TR8. Try just like going heavy on the swing on some of those percussive things. It's a great way just to like get a lot of style points and just like make the whole thing feel like it's grooving. But yeah, I really like this kind of like dark industrial techno kind of vibe. And I think you've got all the right elements, but I think in a jam session this long, if I were to like be at a nightclub and see this, I think I just want more changes regularly, I think is the big thing. But I think in terms of like the vibe and the sounds you're using, I think it sounded really good. I'm going to jump through again real quick to see if there's anything else I forgot about. But it's cool. Like I could see this in a dark warehouse in Berlin going over real well.
That all together we wouldn't be so petty.
I wasn't sure about this sound right here. You had this like dee-dee-dee kind of sound. I think it's cool, but I think that compared to some of the other sounds you're using in this track, it like wasn't engaging me the same way. I like this guy. I like the little plucky guy.
To compete with you.
The other thing that I didn't notice you doing that I think could be really cool is doing some like dub mixing style reverbs and delays. So like occasionally just like do like slowly be turning up the dry wet on like a delay on your hi-hats or something like that. Just create these big kind of like echoey washy spaces, and then you kill the hi-hats, and then you just kind of like echo out for a really long time, and then you like play with them as they're echoing out, or like giving something a bunch of reverb over a really long period of time and just kind of like playing the mixer like an instrument just in terms of doing like send and return effects, is a really fun way just to like get a lot more out of the same loops and the same content you're just kind of like using in your jam session. So dub mixing on this style of music, super cool. Try it out. Maybe you did a little bit and I just didn't notice it, but I think that'd be really fun.
2,000 plus people dead. Certain stress.
Cool. Yeah, chat. You got any other thoughts, comments, questions, feedback, ideas? Let Emo know. But this is cool. I love jam sessions like this. They're like so much fun just to like get in there and just like tweak knobs and play stuff. Is your goal here to be able to do like a hour plus long set with like the TR-08 in your hardware situation, I'm assuming? Yeah, thanks for sharing that. All right, next up we got a track from Ginef. That'd be sick. Yeah, do a live stream of it. I want to do a modular jam live stream sometime. Maybe sometime in the near future if I can get all of my cameras and everything set up the way I want. All right, so we got a track from Ginef here. Let's check it out. Nice. Ginef sounds super clean as always. Guitar sounds really solid. Is that a sample or is that somebody playing it? Oh, I guess somebody else asked that. Jet. Nexus. Nice. Sounds really good to me. I read your description down here. Losing inspiration and vibes. I feel like it definitely still has the vibes. I can't speak to your inspiration, but definitely has a vibe going on here. I think this needs vocals. I think if you toss some vocals on here, it's gonna really make the whole thing kind of fit together, and it will, I think, help you figure out where you're gonna go directionally with it. I thought some female vocals on it could be really great. Even if they're just like oohs and ahs and that kind of thing, not even necessarily like words during this section, could be really fun. And then I feel like towards this section over here, you kind of have like you start doing a little build up, which I was digging. So you build it up as if something big's about to happen. And then the delivery here, I feel like could have been a bit bigger. So number one, on the build itself, really let this build for a little bit longer. Really like kind of like build that tension. I feel like all of like the building sounds are still really quiet. Especially that snare. It's just like, it's too quiet for me to like really get hyped up about it. And then when you kind of deliver here, I think one or two more elements also need to happen right here. So either, like I said, either like a big vocal part happens there, you can have like a big verse, a bigger bass line, releasing tension. What do you need to know? That's a fantastic question. I might have to do like a whole video series on releasing tension and release because it's super important. What's up, Ganya? How you doing today? So there's two ways I think to deliver on tension. I think one way is to overwhelm your audience with lots of sounds. Just like lots of new things come in, just like new ideas, new sounds, bigger sounds, louder sounds, just to kind of like go really over the top with it. So you build up tension and then you deliver just like having a big thing happening. The other way you can do it, this is used a lot in like kind of like dubstep and oftentimes in trap as well, where you deliver very minimally, where you deliver like just the drums or it's just the bass for a little bit first, and then you bring everything else in. And that way you like build up tension, and then people expect it to be super high tension, and it's actually really low, but it still works. So you can kind of fake people out with building tension. I think that depending on the direction you want to go with it, you could go a very EDM way with it, and I feel like this is often feedback I give you. If you want to go more EDM, go more EDM and like do an EDM style drop here. Or do you want to keep this very kind of acoustic, kind of minimal, but still kind of groovy? Go that direction with it. Whichever one you decide, that's the right way to do it. But I feel like just this section here, which is definitely more of like a minimal style delivery on the drop here, is not too much different than what's going on over here in terms of energy. So yeah, I think put some vocals in there. That'll, I think, give you a sense of direction. It'll let you know kind of like where this track is going to go, where it's going to head. And then from there, you can make the build up a little bit louder, and then make the delivery on that build up. You'll understand it more because you'll understand what the vocals sound like, whether you want to put more vocals in there, whatever. I think a big bass line, just like a nice like plucky kind of bass line, could be kind of cool here. Like there's a bit of bass there, but it's pretty subtle. Maybe also some more drums could be kind of cool. Or it might be like a slightly different style of drums could be kind of cool during that section. But yeah, everything sounds really good. Everything works really well here. Chat, you got any thoughts, ideas? If this is your track, where do you take this? What do you do with it? Tripathi, how are you doing today? Welcome. Janef, I think something that would be very interesting for you to try is have somebody in the chat, somebody in the community, try remixing one of your tracks. I'm sure that people who are here now or in the Discord or wherever who would be interested in it. Because I think you build these really solid starting ideas for your tracks, and I can kind of see where you're going to go with them. But I think it would be a cool exercise for you to like take something like this, where it's like a minute and a half kind of idea, send it to somebody else in the community, and have them do a remix of it, and kind of see different directions that people would take if they were starting in the same place that you're starting. Could be kind of a cool exercise if you wanted to. I don't know if anybody in chat wants to volunteer to do that or not, but could be cool. But yeah, sweet track. I'm digging it. Yeah, Love, that's a great idea. I will add a channel for remixes or something, or that people can post their stems for their tracks. And I think that'd be fun to try out. Sweet. Moving right along. I appreciate everybody coming in and offering their feedback and their ideas. If you are enjoying the stream, please feel free to hit the like button. And if you have not sent me a track yet, go to the spreadsheet and send me a track. Looks like we got a track from Gontia coming up in a second. Oops, did I hit play? I did. Let's get rid of this. Cool.
Кто любит и знает этот традиционный музыкальный инструмент. Все, кому дорого народное творчество, не безразличны судьбы его развития.
Now, love, I don't know. That doesn't work. I don't know how that works. Yeah, Dan, there is. I'll talk about it in a minute after this track.
Товарищи, сегодня мы с вами станем свидетелями рождения новой рубрики. Главная редакция пропаганды открывает новый цикл передач. В 18 часов 45 минут в эфир первый выпуск публицистическо-сатирического тележурнала «И в шутку, и всерьез».
That was great. Let's go back here. How do I get back? Oops. Yeah, super cool track. I feel like I love the minimal ambience elements of it. I think that the vocal sample crushed it. Sounded amazing. I love like the kind of like the female vocal that's kind of like moving around through the background sounds really, really cool. I feel like there were 2 points in the song where it was a little bit too minimal. Not that minimal is bad, it's just that like I was ready for more things to happen, and we weren't quite there yet. So the first part was when the kick first comes in. This part's all really cool. And then right here, when the kick comes in, this part's cool, but it's not grabbing my attention the way the rest of the song is. So if it's up to me, I would put another element in there. Maybe some hi-hats, some shakers, some kind of percussion could be really cool. Some more weird sound effect ear candy could be kind of cool. It's just this section wasn't really grabbing me. The vocal is cool. And then this part is super cool, what's about to come up. Love that part. That part, it's just like, I don't know why that part worked for me really, really well. So that part's super dope. Maybe even have this sound come in a little bit earlier. This part's great. Cool, love it, I appreciate that. This part's cool, love it. Love the vocal. This part works for me too. Where's the other part? And then from here on, it's amazing. The last, third of the song I thought was super cool. Really nice vibe. Again, if you wanted to put another layer of percussion in there, something with like a really heavy amount of swing that's pretty minimal with a bunch of reverb, that could be really cool. But other than that, I thought this part was super cool. Yeah, this part especially. I love how you have all these different elements in the song that are kind of like in different parts of arrangement, and then like everything kind of comes together at the very end to create this like really cool, interesting arrangement. Or not arrangement, but like it's a nice climax. It's a climax in a way that's still really minimal and still really chill. So I thought that was a cool like use of all the different sounds. But yeah, chat, any other thoughts? People were saying James Bond. I definitely could like see this in like a film soundtrack kind of thing. If you wanted to put a little bit more reverb on your snare there, I would not mind that. But yeah, I wouldn't consider this a mistake at all. I think it sounds really cool. Sweet. So before we get to the next track, Dan had a question about getting audio from your web browser into Live. The easiest way to do that I know of, it depends if you're using Mac or PC. That's a big question. So if you are using a Mac, there is a thing called Black Hole. This is the website. It's existential.audio/blackhole. You just search for Black Hole Audio Mac. If you've ever used Soundflower before, Soundflower used to do this. It basically allows you to route audio out of your computer basically internally. So what you're gonna end up doing is, let me go ahead and hide myself real quick. If you go to your audio preferences here, you would set up your audio output to be Black Hole. And then you would select your input in Live to be Black Hole. Either 2-channel or 16-channel. And that way you play something in your web browser, it sends it to black hole, which is this like imaginary space, and then it would send it back into live. Yeah, really easy. Sometimes it's a little weird with Big Sur, I've noticed, but for the most part, it works fine. I use it for all kinds of different situations. I use it in my streaming setup, just to get audio from one place to another. Yeah, really easy, and it's free. Try it out. It's basically the spiritual successor to Soundflower, which is how people used to do this, and they still might do it. I should make a video on this because this is something that people ask me about a bit. Next week, video on black hole. Yeah, it's easy, it's free, it works. Try it out. And then you can combine this with like other audio routing software to like route things in crazy ways, which I often have to do. I have not seen ASIO Flex or ASIO Logic Pro. I've used a few other like alternative ASIO drivers that I imagine are kind of the same thing. The ASIO stuff is always such a pain to deal with, though. Yeah, no black hole for Windows. I'll look into see what people are doing for PC. Yeah, people have had to get really creative with their audio routing these days, just because of like streaming setups and audio softwares. One of my big wishes in live would be to be able to have multiple audio interfaces in live, so you could send audio from live to multiple audio interfaces at the same time. That'd be super cool, but I don't expect that to happen anytime soon. All right, next up we got a track from Stas. Stas, if you're in chat, let me know. I don't think I've got a track from you, I don't think. Yeah, we will check it out. There's a dude named Stas who's got a really cool record label called Babylon Records. Nice. This is got a lot of cool stuff going on in it. I feel like there's a few major areas that if you were to switch up a little bit, it would make a huge, huge difference here. And I agree with a lot of the feedback that's going on in chat as well. So the first thing that I noticed here was the vocals. Number one are way too quiet. Number two, have a little bit too much reverb on them. And number three, just sound a little thin. And so if I were you, I would probably compress them quite a bit. Just like crank them through a compressor, turn it up, see what happens. If they still sound a little bit thin after that, maybe layer them up, either by recording multiple vocal layers or by taking the vocal layers you have, duplicating them, and then processing them in different ways. Up to you. But the vocals, I think, could be doing a lot of work here, and right now they're really just kind of getting lost. Other than that, I like the bass line a lot. I kind of want there to be a little bit more variety in the bass line because it is carrying so much of the weight of the song. It's like such a big focus. So maybe have it switch up sonically or have the notes switch up a little bit. But the bass line is very much feels like front and center of this song. Kind of along the same lines, melodically, you don't have a lot going on. You have like a little melodic element in the beginning. And then you have a little bit at the end here. And they're both really cool, but for most of the song, there's no melody. It's just drums and bass and vocals. And so I think that you could take those melodic elements that you do have at the beginning and the end and sprinkle them throughout the rest of the arrangement to kind of like make the whole thing feel a little bit more kind of like full-bodied in terms of what's happening. Same thing with your chords. You have this really nice pad sound, especially at the end here. It's like very nice and atmospheric, but it gets lost behind everything else. It's not even over here. It's there a little bit. And so I think having a second pad layer that's playing a bit more of like clear chords, like a chord progression, could also be really useful. And then you would put a really heavy sidechain on that. So it gives it this nice kind of like bouncy feel. But yeah, like I said, it's a cool track. I like the bass line a lot. Somebody in chat said the percussion was a little bit too crunchy. I kind of agree with that. But I don't think it's that big of a deal. But yeah, I think you got the nice plucky donk bass kind of sound. The drums work pretty well. I think the vocals could work really well with a little bit more processing and a little bit of love on them. And then really just kind of like getting more melodic stuff in there, I think will make a huge, huge difference. But yeah, Stas, I hope you're out there. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Also, just want to mention for those of you guys who are newer to uploading tracks, all of the streams are uploaded to the channel, so you can review your feedback later on if you would like to at some other point. Yeah, so Ganya, for the most part, I'm trying to do one track per person right now. I'm going to have to end this stream fairly soon. And it looks like we have gotten through everybody who has submitted one track, and there are 2 people who have submitted a second track. So you are welcome to put another track in there. I will probably only have time to get through 1 or 2 more tracks though. But anybody that I don't get through today, we'll just put you at the top of the list for next week. If that sounds fair to everybody. Cool. We got another track from Equal. I believe, if I remember recalling correctly, is Willie in chat. Not sure if he's still around. Maybe, yeah, he is. Cool. We're gonna check this out. See how it sounds. Nice. This is a really dope track. I like this. Before we dive into that, just because actually, Willie, I believe you mentioned something about like a song challenge, 14 songs in 28 days of February. One of the things I'm planning on doing for the channel next year, starting in January, is doing a song a week for the entire year of 2022. So keep an eye out. I'm going to have more info about that later on, but I figure you guys who are here might want to know. I'm going to be doing a song a week. I'm going to encourage you guys to do a song a week, and that way we have 52 songs by the end of the year. So that's the plan. I'll have more info later on about it. Ganya, I have definitely thought of starting my own record label. The problem is I love music, but I am terrible at business. And I don't understand how businesses work. And I feel like in order to be a successful record label owner, you need to understand the business world a lot more than I do. So that's what's holding me back more than anything else. Yeah, 52 songs in a year. And then at the end of it, I'll probably take like the 10 best ones and like release those on an album or something like that. That's the plan, at least. All right, so going to this track, the chords and melodies and arpeggiators and all that stuff, crushed it. Love it. Really, really cool. I also like it in contrast to the kind of like Foley, different kind of sounds you're using for your percussion. However, I feel like on the percussive side of things, so you have this beat going on. Number one, that kick pattern gets a little bit repetitive, and it'd be cool if somewhere in the song it changed a little bit. Number two, that kick is tied together with another more kind of like Foley kind of sound. It's more obvious over here. And I think it'd be cooler if, even if the kick drum and the snare kind of stay really steady, the variety of the other percussive sounds switches up more. So it doesn't feel like every time there's a kick, there's a sound that goes with the kick, but there's a sound that goes with the kick with one time, and then the next time there's a different sound that goes with the kick, and the next time there's a different sound that goes with the kick. And that way they're kind of like making the two feel a little bit different, more different from each other. So there's a lot of more variety in your Foley drum sound stuff. So it's not just like this, like it sounds cool the way it is, but it does get repetitive. So more variety in the Foley stuff. I like what you're doing. It sounds like you have some like weird beat repeats and delays on them. And that's super cool. Yeah, I guess I want a little bit more chaos with some of the Foley kind of sounds. And I think it'll make it feel a little bit less stiff than it does right now, because you just have this like kick drum rhythm that's like the dun dun kind of rhythm, feels a little stiff, whereas all of the melodic elements have this very kind of like nice, smooth, natural feel to it. Love this part. This part here sounds dope. I might even get rid of the kick here and just like let it just be the melodic parts. And then maybe when you bring everything back, you bring in like a bigger kind of kick going on. But other than that, I think it has a really nice vibe to it. I think it sounds really good. This has this very like happy, uplifting kind of vibe to it without sounding cheesy, which I think is something that can be tricky to do. If you wanted to more chaos in the percussion as the rest of the song is kind of like building an energy and kind of rising, could be kind of cool. And that way, like maybe, reset the percussion so it's very light and minimal over here. And then as it gets over here, you get like lots of like crazy things going on with different percussion. This kind of reminds me of a track called by Max Cooper called Order from Chaos, where he starts with a lot of these kind of like little sounds happening and then like turns into a rhythm and it kind of like builds into the whole thing. So check out that track. I think that might give you some ideas on how you can kind of like either start with chaos and then move it into order, or start with order and kind of move it into more kind of chaos, and using a lot of these kind of like percussive, weird, Foley found sound kind of sounds. Check it out. Sweet. Anybody else got thoughts, ideas, comments? All right, and this is going to be the last track for the day. So another track from Ganya, and then we're going to call it for today. Once again, big thanks to everybody who shared a track, gave feedback, just came and hung out and chatted. You guys are awesome. You really kind of like make this whole thing actually work and be worthwhile. If you enjoyed the stream, go ahead and hit the like button or do whatever one of those things. I will be back obviously next Tuesday for another stream. We're going to be doing a little bit more in-depth Ableton 11.1 beta testing stuff. We're going to kind of see what we can do with it. But if you guys have any ideas for topics for videos that I can cover in the future, definitely let me know. I'm always looking for new ideas. Or also, there's going to be a new stream schedule probably starting in November that is yet to be determined. But yeah, thanks to everybody coming out, and hopefully I will see you on Tuesday. If not, I'll be back here next Friday for another feedback stream. We got a feedback loop. It wouldn't be a stream without a weird feedback loop. Let's try that again. Nice. This is a really dope track. Um, I feel like it has a lot of personality to it, has a lot of character to it, and I'm not entirely sure why, but it definitely stands out to me amongst like house tracks in this style. It feels unique, which I think is difficult to do, and it makes the whole thing work. I felt like both of your kind of like drop sections worked really, really well. Let me check this out again. It's like right around here. Yeah, something about that sound you're using, that kind of like aggressive, choppy synth sound, works really well. I do think that it could be bigger and louder in both of your drops. So put a saturator on it, maybe compress it a little bit, maybe layer it up. One thing I like to do with this kind of sound is pitch it either up an octave or pitch it down an octave, and then layer it with that. So it's the same sound, but it takes up more frequencies, and that's a great way to make it sound a little bigger. Because if that sound is like super huge, then you've got like a banger track. You got like a track that you like 100% you want to play out in clubs. But it has this really interesting energy to it. That vocal sample is also great. Perfect. Yeah, that part's super cool. I like all the ambience and stuff you have going on here. This is really cool.
Your call is important to us, so please leave a message after the beep.
I like how you slow down. Yeah, I like it when you change the rhythm of that. And I think more rhythm changing with that sound will work really well. I think occasionally just like chopping it out, and instead of putting a vocal sample in between the chops in that sound, just have it be silence. You kind of do it there a little bit. Yeah, that part sounds really cool. Yeah, I really like this track. I think the clap is not inspiring me a whole lot. The clap just sounds a little generic, especially in the beginning. Like the clap's okay, but better clap in there if it were up to me. I think the kick sounds decent. Kick could be a tiny bit louder. Yeah, kick definitely a tiny bit louder. Maybe swap out that clap for something that has like a little bit more kind of character to it. But the drums sound good. I love this part. Yeah, those are the main things I'm noticing there. Really cool energy, really cool vibe to it. I want that main kind of aggressive synth part, choppy synth part, to be a bit more present, a bit louder, and a bit more noticeable, and a bit more aggressive. That's the big thing. If you could do that, then I'm loving this track. And then a little bit more drum processing, and then you're basically there. Sweet. Well, at this point, we have gotten through all of the tracks that people have sent me. Once again, thank you to everybody who sent me those tracks. I greatly appreciate it. I love hearing what you guys are working on. It's super helpful. Ganya, I've noticed you've been sending me a lot of tracks that are a little bit older. So I want to hear some new stuff. Send me some new unreleased Ganya. That's what I'm looking for next time. I'd love to hear those works in progress. But yeah, thanks to everybody. Hopefully you guys have a really great weekend. Make some music, take care of yourself, eat some food, get some sleep. I'll be back on Tuesday for a just hang out and do stuff with Ableton live stream. So hopefully I'll see you guys there. And if you guys have any thoughts or ideas on how I can improve the channel, how I can make things better for you guys, definitely feel free to either hit me up through YouTube or my email or the Discord or wherever you want to. But yeah, I think I'm gonna call the stream for today. Really great stream, a lot of awesome tracks. I will see you guys later. Have a good one.